Alright guys, welcome back to another I don't even know if this is a YouTube video, but this video is gonna be Alright guys, welcome back to another video. In this video we're gonna talk about how to set up and use my new Po3 profiler indicator. Now, I made this indicator very similar to my quarterly theory indicator. So if you use this indicator, it should be fairly easy to understand this one. But if you don't use this one or you don't have access to this one, well, this indicator is, it's different. It has different features, and that's what we're talking about today. So what I have here is actually a trade that I called out this morning, and I was trading with my community. And very quickly, I'm gonna hide out the drawings. Or I'm gonna keep the drawings. Let me go to take them out. So I'm gonna take out the drawings and I'm gonna set this to default. Oh my god. I'm gonna reset the settings. So what you see here is how the indicator comes when it's brand new, when no settings have been applied. Now we're gonna go into the settings and we're gonna go through it step by step. So we cover every setting that you might need to know, and we cover some tips and tricks on how you can use this to trade whatever concept it is you trade. I trade some of those concepts too, and I feel like I'm in a position to be able to make tools for that because I understand them and I know how they work and I know how to make tools for them. So this tool basically would be good for someone who trades GXT. If you trade, ICT, basically, if you trade ICT, I use GXT as an example because it's like one of the more popular ones that people are familiar with. If you don't know who GXT is, I'm going to link his YouTube down in the comments below. So you can go check out his YouTube videos and you can see what I mean when I say you can use this tool to trade like he does. Now, he didn't pay me for this. This is not an affiliated promotion. It's just my opinion, right? It's my video, it's my opinion, and I think I can say what I want. So, first off, if you get the tool, you claim it from the WAP. This is how it is. When you open up the settings, this is what you get, right? And at the top, you have a couple settings. Now, I used emojis to code what each setting means. So when you see a fire emoji, be it this or in my quarterly theory indicator, it means that it's a very important setting and you need to make sure that this setting is set up properly, or else you might not get the wanted results. You might not get exactly what you want. And in the future, when I implement alerts, because this indicator does not have alerts, but in the future, when I implement alerts, settings like these will probably affect the alerts, and you want to make sure that they're set up properly so you know that you're getting the proper alerts when you eventually set them up. Now, these settings, I set up two tips. So there's two tips for each and every one of the settings that are important. Anyone that doesn't have two tips is pretty self-explanatory, and you can always ask for help in the Discord. We have support. Now, this first setting, what it does basically is it filters the direction of the Po3 profiling direction. So when I say the Po3 profiling direction, I'm talking about, the C2, C3, C4 thing, that box. There's something in the box, the manipulation area. It's an area from the open of a candle, basically, from the open of a candle to, depending on the phase of price, it's an open from the open to a measured level of the previous candle, right? So in this case, this is silver, and this silver had a failure swing, so the indicator will not really plot PO3 levels for it. But right here, this is a 30-minute chart, right? These are 30-minute HTF candles. I'm gonna quickly skip to like another feature just to show you how another feature works, if that makes sense. So I'm going to switch the profiler source. I'm going to switch it to HTF1, right? Because by default, it profiles HTF2. So when I switch it to HTF1, we're on the 3-minute chart right now. you're going to see that the vertical lines will adjust to profile 30-minute boundaries, right? And with 30-minute boundaries, each of these lines are 30 minutes, right? So we want to see this candle, this candle, this candle. Now C4 just ended because it really just ended. It's 2 p.m. now. But if I use the replay tool and I go back, right, you're gonna see the profile show up. So you're gonna see a C2, C3 box, C4, right? So when the indicator says profiling, when you see PO3 profiling, there's another section that says PO3 profile, profiling element. It refers to these things, these elements, right? And when I put HTF, it refers to the ones on the HTF candles, because I also put those elements on the HTF candles themselves so you can see them and know what is being referred to, right? So this thing, what this does, basically, it filters what direction you want to look at the market in. So if you already have a bias, like personally, when I trade, I don't use auto mode. I do my analysis without my indicators because as a developer, I have lots of tools and I don't want noise. I don't want to be confused. So I turn off all my indicators. I do my analysis and then I turn them back on to support what I think. I don't try to find ideas to support what the indicator tells me. So that's the way I use these tools, right? So we have this right here, where the directional bias. So if I change this from auto, if I change this to bearish, for example, you're gonna see this disappear because this is a bullish manipulation area, right? So if I change this to bearish, you're also going to see the status bar. The status bar is going to turn to bearish. You're going to see a bearish thing right here. And what it means, basically, this is a bar to show you your settings. So if you have this set to bearish or you have it set to bullish, it's going to show you the settings you have on, right? And as you can see, there's nothing that's going to show because on the 30-minute chart, it's not bearish, it's bullish. So if you set it to bearish, you're not going to see anything. So that's something you might have to watch out for. And bullish, it's pretty self-explanatory. I want to believe that I'm not really talking to kids. So if I set it to bullish, it's going to show the bullish setting, right? So I give it a second there. It's going to come up and show the bullish. So it's back and it shows bullish. So I'm going to leave that on auto mode. And the second option, the CISD, SSMT, directional bias, what it does basically is it filters the SSMT. So if, in this case, we had the profiling elements. This one applies to the SSMT lines. So it isn't quarterly theory per se, but it's still sequential SMT because it's measuring SMT between consecutive candles, right? 90-minute consecutive candles, 30-minute consecutive candles, right? So it's technically still SSMT because it's sequential. Now, what it does basically is the same thing. So if I change this to bearish, this bearish SMT here will stay, but all of these bullish SMTs will disappear because a bullish SMT is a divergence at the lows and a bearish SMT is a divergence at the highs. So if I change this to bearish, you're going to see all of these disappear, right? You're going to see these bad boys here disappear. So give it a second, and we have just the bearish SMT. Now, this doesn't really make sense because why would I want to be looking at bearish SMTs if I have a, auto bias or if the market is bullish, right? Which is why the status bar also updates with the settings. So this tiny thing on the right side, there's three sections. There's the auto, which applies to this one. There's the middle row, which applies to whatever is being profiled. I'll get to that in a second. But the last row applies to this setting, which is CISD/SSMT. Now, if I change this to bullish, if you watch this, it's going to change to a green upward arrow. I'll give it a second, and there we go. It has changed to a green upward arrow, and the bullish SMTs are back on the chart, and the bearish SMT is non-existent. Now, if I change this, whatever this is, the middle row, I said I was going to get to it. The middle row applies to the fourth setting, which is the profiler source. I kept these settings at the top to make them easy to reach and, really accessible so you can quickly tune your indicator with these settings that matter. Now, what this does basically, it changes what HTF is being profiled. So we're on the 3-minute chart, and usually I like to profile, the 3 minute to 30, 3 minute to 90, 5 minute to 1 hour using time frame alignments, right? 15 minute to 4 hour. Now, if you're on auto mode, it does it automatically, but you can also change it. So there's auto, there's HTF1, HTF2, HTF3. Now, it's pretty self-explanatory. HTF1 is the one that's closest to your chart. HTF2 is the one that's after that. HTF3 is the one that's after that, right? So really simple. If you want to profile the 4 hour, for example, straight from the 3-minute chart, you can do that. I don't force you to use any profiling thing that I think is the best. You can do what you want. So I can set this to HTF3, and you just see right here, it's going to change 3 minute to 4 hour, right? And the vertical lines are going to be profiling the 4 hour lines. So you can see here we have the 6 a.m. the 6 a.m. open, 10 a.m. open, and you can see at 2 p.m., which is it's 2:06 right now, but I went into replay mode at the beginning of the video. But basically, you can see that it works. So that's that for these 4 settings, and I think those are like the most important settings that users might need to know. Everything else you can just play around with it, but I'm still gonna go through it just for the sake of it. Now we have the auto mode. Now what this auto mode does basically, it selects time frames that are profiled automatically based on the time frame you are on. So if you're on the 3-minute chart, it's going to automatically select some time frames that I chose for you. Now, you can always change this. If you don't like the auto settings, you can just turn it off. And when you turn it off, it's going to use these. So you can see the 90 minutes is going to change to 4 hour, and the 4 hour is going to change to 1D. And you can see it has automatically changed because it's on the manual now when you turn it off. But if I turn it back on, you see it profiles, basically automatically. If I go to the 5-minute, you're going to see that I use a different HTF2 automatically. It's all handled automatically, using standard time frame alignment, ICT time frame alignment, as it is a ICT tool. We have the 30-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour. On the 15-minute, we're going to have the, I think, 1 hour, 4 hour daily. I think, I'm not sure. Oh, so we just have the 4 hour and the daily on the, yeah. So on the 30-minute, I have some auto settings. I don't remember all of them, but basically there's always a setting for your thing. So on the 90-minute, we have a couple settings too. We have settings for almost all time frames. We got the 90-minute. I think my Wi-Fi is bad. 6 hour daily, weekly, right? On the daily, we also have automatic time frames for the daily. So if you're analyzing the daily time frame, we have the monthly and the 3-month. So that's how that works. It's just automatic. I don't want to spend too much time on it. This is just basic stuff, the offset, the space, right? This is the candle colors. So, currently you can see this is green because there's a PSP. So what that means basically is one of the other assets that is correlated to, which is either copper or gold, it has a bearish 3-month candle. That could be it could not be, because sometimes this the indicator, if you're in the replay mode, it shows false signals sometimes. Yeah, so there is no SMT because there's no PSP, because I know they're all bullish. So yeah, that's that for that setting. I'm gonna go back to the 3-minute chart, right? And then we go back into the settings. We have this setting show FVGs, volume imbalances, right? So on the HTF candles, that's self-explanatory. We have the label size, we have the label color. I made the settings pretty cohesive. So if you see a color beside a toggle, it applies to that toggle. You don't need someone to explain that to you. Label positions, this just top, bottom, both align. I used Fadi source code, right? And it's in the description of this indicator. So if you don't know who Fadi is, I will also link his socials down in the description below. His X, his Tradingview, you can check it out. He also has a blog where he teaches ICT concepts, and he, writes. He's a really great guy. You should definitely check him out, right? And you can just check that in the description down below. Now we have the LTF chart profiling elements, right? And this is where it kind of gets important because, if you don't want, for example, if I go back in the replay mode, if I go back to before 2 p.m., right? you can see those PO3 boxes. We can see let me profile the 30-minute because on HTF3, change back to HTF1. So you can just see me using it in real time, see how I basically change stuff around. So if you don't want this, right? If you don't want the profiling boxes to show, you don't have to have it on your chart. You can easily turn it off and you simply just press that and boom, it disappears, right? A couple seconds and it's gone basically, right? And you know, if you don't want it on your chart, it's not going to be on your chart, right? If you want it on your chart, you want to turn off the border. You can also turn that off, and it will be gone. It's loading in a second. Yeah, and you can just have the box, and it will be gone. It's that easy, right? And turn that back on. You can also change the border style. This chart overlays refers to these lines, so the vertical separators, right? And if I want to add some other things, I just put them under the same group. Just it's kind of like a university use case. Now the vertical lines, this is the color, this is the style, this is the size of the text. So the size of the times that the thing is referring to, that's it right there. I use tiny. Tiny is the default, just for a cleaner chart, and so you don't overcrowd your chart and confuse yourself. We have the profiled open line. Now, what this is the open line of the currently being profiled candle. So if we're profiling this candle, this line is basically telling you the open of this candle. Now, it depends on this, because if it's profiling the 30-minute, it's going to show the 30-minute open. If you are profiling the 90-minute, it's going to show you the 90-minute open, 4-hour, 4-hour open, and so on and so forth. I hope that's not too confusing. If you have any questions, please comment down below. And we have the HTF candle profiling elements. Basically, this is just the LTF, but on the HTF. So, the candle labels, right? C1, C2, C3, the HTF profiles, right? What this is basically is when you have a sweep. So this line right here, that C1, C2 line, what that is basically is this. So when you have this HTF profile sweep, you can change the color if you want it to be blue. It can be whatever you want. You can make it thicker, right? You can make this 2. Give it a second, it'll load up, and this line should become blue. So there you go. If you are someone who's into that kind of thing, I don't know. I'm just going to leave it back at, regular color that I have it on as the default, right? We have the PO3 level. Now this PO3 level is calculated differently for C3 and C4. I think I'm going to make a separate video for that, because if I'm making these tools, I might as well kind of like teach people the concepts, I guess. I don't really like teaching people, trading stuff. I don't feel like I'm qualified for it. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to help people, so it is what it is. If you don't understand what that is, you can join my Discord. We talk about these stuff every day. You can ask questions. You don't have to pay. It's like $1, because I don't want scammers, and I don't want, just grifters and people who are just not serious about their life at all. I don't want any kind of people in there who are not serious. That's why there's a $1 price tag. So that's pretty much it. If you don't have $1, I'm sorry. But I think you can DM me on X, and I'll inspect your profile, see if you're a real person, and then I'll add you. So if you also want to join the community, comment down below and I'll get you, or just visit my X profile and DM me on X. And then we have this next section, PSP divergences. So basically what this is, some people don't want to use PSPs, right? If you don't use PSPs, you can easily turn it off. Like, it's not even a problem. It's not a hassle. You don't have to have it on, right? You can easily turn it off, and there you go, right? I use it, right? And that's why I use colors that are non-intrusive, so they kind of look like regular colors anyway. Yeah. And then this is the SMT setting. So this is quite important. I think I should have covered this before I was talking about all the other stuff. I'm going to add sections to this. So we have this section, enable SMT. If you turn this off, you can see the tooltip. It's the master toggle, right? If you turn it off, everything's going to turn off, right? You're not going to see SMT anywhere. You're not going to see SMT on the HTF candles. You're not going to see SMT on the chart. You're not going to see any SMT. But if you want, there's an option to turn off the SMT on the chart. There's the option to turn off the SMT on the HCF candle, as you can see right here, right? We have the HCF SMT and we have the chart SMT, right? So there's options for all that. If you want to follow the auto HTF filter, what this means basically, you can read the tooltips. The tooltips are there for a reason. If you don't understand something, you read the tooltips. What it does is when this is on, it's going to show SMT for these time frames, right? So if you have SMT, if you have the thing set to auto, basically it's going to show 30-minute, 90-minute, and 4-hour SMTs on the chart, right? Yeah, so there's a 4-hour SMT here. There aren't a lot of 4-hour SMTs, but there's one right here. There's 30-minute SMT here. There's a 90-minute SMT here. Now, that's basically what it does if it's on follow auto filter. Now, if you set it to manual, for example, you're going to have to turn them on. Because if you don't turn them on, it's just like you didn't put on SMTs, right? You're not going to see anything unless you turn them on. So usually I don't use the 15-minute. I use 30, I use 90, I use 6 hour, I use 1 1 week, 1 month, 3 month. Now I set it in a way that you don't just have all the SMTs dumped on your chart, right? There's a limit, there's like a ceiling. So that ceiling, basically, you can limit the amount of cycles that you have on the chart at any given time. If you just want the lowest, closest SMT on your chart, you can set it to 1, right? And what's going to happen is you're not going to see 90-minute and you're not going to see 4-hour SMTs. So that's something you might have to watch out for. So you don't, if in case you're not seeing SMTs, so you don't see it, you don't stress and wonder why nothing is showing, right? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna put that back on 3. And then we have the max line. So basically what the max lines does is it limits the amount of lines basically on a chart. So the indicator loads faster. Because if I don't set the maximum to 50, it's just gonna fill everywhere with SMTs, and all the previous SMTs, just gonna be seeing them all over the chart. If you want to see previous SMTs, go into the replay mode and they are there, right? And we have the labels. You can turn them off, right? If you don't want to turn them off, you can just set them to the asset, since they are color coded. So if you see green, it's either 90 or 1 hour, right? And all you need to know is the asset in that case. So you don't have too many words on the lines and it kind of gets, a bit fuzzy, and, you're wondering what it is you're exactly looking at. And that's that for SMT. We have time labels. This is pretty self-explanatory. We have the time. If you want to turn it on, it's off by default because a lot of people don't really like it. I personally don't use it that much. If you're scalping, it might be something that you might like or not. I don't use it, so it's usually off. There's just a couple settings there. You can use the tooltips to understand what it is they do. Now we have it. Changes to the delivery. You can turn it on. You can turn it off. This maximum CISDs limits the amount of CISDs on the chart. So you don't have CISDs all the way to infinity, right? You have the pending timeout, right? The tooltip says what it is, right? I don't want to talk too much on that. We have the size filter. So it filters out tiny, tiny, tiny order blocks. So we have regular, small, really small, size of what you see, whatever, right? And we have a filter by purge. So what this does basically, if I turn this on, if CISD does not sweep an old level, it's not going to plot. So if I turn this on, this filter by purge, some of these CISDs are going to disappear. But I know for a fact that this one will remain because it is a C2 sweep and candle closure right here. So if I turn this on with a 5, I'm just going to, what is that 5? Yeah, new pivot and a purge, consider them related. So you can see what it did. It's done loading right now, and you can see this changes to the delivery right here was deleted, and it only leaves the CISDs that swept a relevant low. Now, this is something that's only important if you like to trade reversals, because if you like to trade reversals, you want to see that changes to the delivery. You want to see it sweep an old low. and that's something that's important because it's gonna clean up all the unimportant changes in state of deliveries or changes in the state of delivery. It kind of gets it's a mouthful, right? It's like a long word, CISD. But yeah, basically it filters out useless CISDs. Not useless because those CISDs can be used for continuations, right? Because a fair value gap is also something like this one, right? Which was out of that fair value gap right there. That's not useless, but because it did not sweep a low, it's not gonna show based on this filter by page. Now, if you use my quarterly theory indicator, that's a different setting compared to the quarterly theory indicator. You will notice if you use them, it's a different setting. This one is different in the sense that it affects the plotting, right? The quarterly theory indicator does not even have this feature. The one it has basically is for the alerts, and yeah, and finally, we have the setting Fibonacci projections. You can turn it on. What it does basically, it just draws a Fibonacci for the last change in the set of delivery. So you can see right here, it'll draw a Fibonacci for this. You can use the bodies or you can use the wicks. I personally like to use the bodies. It's contextual. So if the wick is a large wick, I like to use the bodies. But in this case where we have small wicks, big bodies, I like to use the wick. So it uses the entire range of the changes in state of delivery order block. And you can see right here, we have a couple levels, minus 0.5, minus 1, minus 5, minus 2, 2.5, yada, yada, yada. You can see them plotted right here. Now, the reason it's minus is because basically it's plotted from left to right. So it's plotted from left to right down. And if it's plotted down, well, it's negative upward, just so you're not confused about that, right? If it's plotted up for bearish changes to the delivery, it's negative downward. So that's why it's negative. Profiler status bar, which is this thing up here. If you want to have like a quick overview of your settings, that's really important. I use that all the time to quickly know if I have the right settings. If I'm analyzing the market and I'm like, I notice that something is wrong with the indicator. I want to know if it's a bug or if it's just me and I didn't set the indicator up properly. I get lots of questions all the time about, users telling me, oh, I think there's a bug, but they just forgot to change something back to auto, or they, did something in the settings and they forgot about it. That's why this status bar is here, really, really clean, just to show you what's necessary. It doesn't need to show you everything. It doesn't need to show you the date. The date. You can check your phone for that, right? It only shows you what's important, which is what I do. I don't put too much stuff on the charts. It's not necessary. If it's not necessary, my indicators are not going to have it. And if you don't want it, you can easily turn it off. There's a toggle right there. You can turn it off and it's gone. It's gone. You won't see it again. So that's that for the profiler status bar. You can have the asset selection. So this is pretty simple. I made it so simple. The way it works is if you have it on auto mode, it uses, for example, this is silver. So it uses the CFD actually. It uses forex.com as the auto, and it uses gold and copper. Now you can change it to manual, right? And you can use whatever you want. Like if I want silver, this is silver, yeah. So if I want silver, for example, and I want just gold, let's say I don't want copper, right? I can just turn on silver and gold, right? And I leave asset 2 empty. And I will have SMT with gold. SMT with gold, I will not have SMT with copper because there's no copper, right? In the next update, I'm going to make this known that this is optional because the way I did it, I made it such that you don't have to fill all of them. So you can only put in the ones that are important. And asset 3 is in case you have something like DXY and you want to invert it, you can use this. So you don't have, it's really simple. You don't need a dyad mode. You don't need a triad mode. You don't need any of that. Just put your assets and you're done, right? Really, really simple. Really, really, really simple. So that's that. Really, that's basically it. How long has this recording been? 28 minutes. I guess it's a tutorial, so it should be in depth. So by the time you're done watching this video, you should completely understand how to use this tool. And if this helps you, if you are a subscriber of the tool suite on WAP, leave a review if you're a member already. And if you're on YouTube and you're watching this and you want access to it, or you're going to get access for it, And if you like the tool, if it helped you in any way, also leave a comment. I read all the comments. I don't have a lot of comments, so I basically read all of them. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next one.